Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and today is Tuesday, April the 9th. This will be our chart lesson for today. It's been an interesting day. We really started out in this range right here, very similar to what we had yesterday, and we broke lower. And remember, when you come out of the range, the target is always about an equal move to the original target range, and there's the original, and you can see it was basically, we went a couple of ticks lower, um, and really you could have called the top of the range right there. That's where you really get the most touches. Um, so we do it like that, and then you still get the same thing. You still want a little bit over um, the target, but you see nothing close below that, and that's generally a good sign. And then we stayed in this little range. We broke back into the other one, came back down, made a double bottom, and then boom. And yeah, I'm sorry, I had a slight interruption there. And then it was off to the races. I got a lot of questions about this. Several people sent me an email, um, wanting to know why these shorts weren't working up through here. Well, you got to find these trend lines, and you can see every one of these trends, there was a short-term channel, and most of them you got to easy. This one you got to break. It went a little further, but it comes back down for the retest. This one you got to break right here. Comes back for the retest, makes a new high, then sells off. Then you got this one working down. We kind of overshot. We broke it, made a double top. You get a retest with a new low that actually tests this low, and then it's off to the races. Now we finally got a break over here, and you're working on a retest, and we've got a new high. Will we sell off now? I don't know, but this line right here is the all-time recent high on this, these big rallies. You can see it right there. And that's why I have that line there, because I was looking for the next place you'll find strong support or resistance, and guess what? There it is right there. You just go across till you find it, and you drop a line on there. So, you know, that's why I keep these lines. And then the current day ones I usually keep like this, and the other one I'll change this one now. If I was going to keep trading, I'd make it a little thicker, just because now we got a double top here for today with a little one tick trap right there. I tell you what, I'd be very leery shorting this thing um, today until we start to get a confirmed trend on the way down, because this thing had just been, I mean, that's a monster move straight up, but you can see the trend line, and you could, you know, it's pretty obvious. And the only reason I didn't buy this one is because you had too much overlap and it's too close to that double top. And you can see we found strong resistance there. And so far, we've gotten through it by one tick on a retest only. So that's the reason I didn't like that. But let's go talk about the trades. Again, I mean, that's obvious. Somebody sent me something, says, yeah, I was going by the trend line from yesterday. Well, I'll tell you, I don't really pay much attention to previous day trend lines. I don't care what's going on the previous day. But even if you drew the previous day's trend line, I mean, if you draw it like that, let's just draw it. Let's just see what we get here. I'm going to draw it off the highs. That looks like the previous day's trend line to me right there. And we had the break and the move to a new high, so it was time for a sell-off. But again, I'm not paying any attention to what happened there. Even if you drew this trend line here off of that move, you can see we had the break, two legs up, trying to make a new high on the retest, and then we sold off. So, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not too interested in what happened the previous day. There's always plenty of reasons to find for entering a trade on the current day. And so I'm just not that interested in previous day trend lines. I'm more interested in we were in a trading range. That's obvious right there. The EMA is still pointing up, but that's left over from yesterday. But since yesterday, we've been in a trading range, and that's obvious. You can see that you've got strong support here, and you got strong resistance up there. This was the first trade I saw. Um, it was a chance to get short uh, off of really a double, triple top right here. And we had that one little tick there above that double top that trapped everybody. And then we turned down, and This one was a little questionable because of the overlap, but you'll see that a lot at the highs and lows of a range. So it's not as critical as when you're in the middle or in the move somewhere, because that's just kind of what you're going to see. If you combined all that together, you got a little bitty doji with a chance to get short with a small stop. So it's a in a trading range, and we just broken out of that little congestion right there. So you figure we're going to snap back and test that low, um, even if we go higher from there. And so, place to get short. No runners on this one. Easy scalp, but they came back pretty quick and got the runners. But notice this double top right here, and I drew the trend line right off those first couple of bars there. Use it kind of using the closes there. Originally, I had it drawn just a little steeper because I drew it through that one, but we ticked up through there and turned back down. So you got a double top, so a chance to get short there. And the only reason I like this one is because it's a failed second entry long, so there's a trap. There's not very much room here, but just enough room to get out. And guess what? You get your scalp, and no real runner there, though, unfortunately. And um, then we're headed lower. So once we break lower here, you really need a good entry. You really need a good entry to enter here. And this is just a breakout pullback short is all this is. And notice there's a double top right here, and we're coming off this trend line. Somebody, I think, was asking me about a long right here, but you gotta pay attention to your trend lines. And so, like I showed you, if you drew every one of these short-term little trend lines today, they followed the price action rules to the T of getting your break first and then a retest and then it reversing or going into a correction or whatever. And you see we're still going higher. We're working on our second leg up over here now. So off of this little channel working its way up here. But I saw this as a short. Everything's been below the EMA. We're trending down. There was a failed break lower, but there's no reason to go long here. There's no break of any, this is an obvious little trend line holding prices down through here. And when you come off of it almost to the tick again, um, it's a great place to get short. And you see it was an easy move down. You could have ridden this all the way down to the measured move, and that's where I exited. So I got out a couple of ticks early, but I got most of that move right there. And then it reversed. I didn't see any reason to go long. There's no good long setup here. You might have risked going long here, um, but there's no break of the trend line yet. So I don't see any reason to be getting long, just like there wasn't any reason to get long there. And you see it tried to go lower. But you just got to wait on a setup. This was the first bar you had that even you might have even considered going short under, but that's your first break of the trend line. And look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 overlapping bars there. A couple of them dojis in there. You don't want to go short below that because what happens? It snaps back. So you want to wait on a second entry. And we didn't get that really. There was one here. But this was really risky because that's real bullish. So you got to wait really on a better entry than that. And then when we broke higher and failed and turned down, notice that even this one is green. You're better off to probably wait on a second entry, all counting from this direction. So first entry, pull back, second entry. And so I just didn't like this one, to be honest. But I drew it in green because it is a. Here you got two measured legs up and a failed break higher with a big reversal bar. But again, there's so many overlapping bars. But if you saw that and took it, I drew it in green because I was tempted to take it. I waited, and you notice it did come back, and then it gives you a chance to enter on a better entry. And you're really getting short way down here near this trend line. But I wasn't sure that's where it was yet because it could have been off that high. But I believe this to be it. Once we got another pullback right here, then that's it. And so I like this trade right here. I took it. It took a little bit to work out because it's fighting down that trend line, that trend channel line. and then it it breaks a little lower finally, and I really thought we'd go all the way down and test, but um, again, there's no reason to get short until you get a better setup here. There's no short until possibly right there, and even if you took that one, this trade still would have worked. You would have had to ride out this other little pullback, but now you've got another double top right here at the EMA, very similar to what you had somewhere back over here, right here, coming off that high, and another chance to get short, figuring you're going to get a retest. And when we made that little doji right there, I exited on that one. And, you know, I wasn't going to let it come back and get my runner because this was obvious that we had a higher range and a lower range. And then suddenly it's off to the races. And you see the first chance you really had a chance to go short was right there. And you would get tricked right there. But again, look, by the time it triggers, you got two dojis sitting up here. And we just came off a double bottom that didn't quite meet its target. I was looking for a target down here, possibly like that. But when we found resistance right there, or support right there at that previous support, you got to pay attention to that. And you can see what happened. We bounced, and we make a new high right here. And that's not, when you've got a double bottom and then a higher high, notice that double top, we got through there, make a higher high. We're way above the EMA here. We've kind of been on both sides really since right in here. You don't want to be shorting that. You want to wait and see what happens. And, you know, I drew this trend line off these first two bars right here, and you can see it played perfectly all the way up. And so we just were finding resistance right there, but we pulled up. And then somebody asked me about short right here. Again, there's no reason to be going short, especially when you got three overlapping bars. You got this bar, and these are really just like two inside bars that overlap each other. And, you know, you could have easily drawn this line off these highs by now and drug it down, even if you didn't find it off the low. And you can see that right there. So this is actually a long, because this was the previous support that we broke below. We come back inside it, we pull back and test it, and it's a failed second entry short. A chance to go long, figuring you're going to right here, and guess where? That's exactly where it finds resistance, back up here at the previous high. You get a pullback, but notice we can't really break this trend line. We got some stems below it, but there's no closes anywhere below that till right here. And this is just a little two-legged pull back to the EMA, and then now we're doing a retest. So another long right here. And you actually, on this one here, let's talk about it. You really could have gone long above this bar or this bar here. It was a little risky going long here because, again, you're right up here near this resistance, and you got three overlapping bars by the time this breaks higher. So that's, you really need a better, like a breakout pullback out of that right there. And then you got it here and a chance to go long there. And again, I should have drawn this one in green, but I believe this entry was more the green one. And then this is a second entry long, and it's coming right off the trend line, and you just can't ignore that. It's a breakout pullback long with no trend line break. Do you know it's going to go all the way up here? No. But you figure it's going to get a scalp at least back up to this upper side, and it got a whole lot more than that. It went way up here. And where I would have been looking to exit was when you either went into, you might have thought about exiting here, but you notice it went on up. But once you started to get three or more overlapping bars here, that's when I would have exited probably. But my target was thinking, hey, we're going to probably at least get to that previous double top, and we got it to the tick. It's just amazing how, you know, if you pay attention to what's going on, it's, you know, it takes time. It takes practice of seeing this all the time. And again, not only was this two legs back to the EMA and then a retest, notice all these little matching lows across here. Right across there in that one tick trap. So they got everybody trapped to the low side. So that's another reason to take that trade. And it got just enough to scalp out right there. And then it starts pulling back again. And what I actually did, the way I'll show you how to do this, you don't know that you'll get that tick. So when it breaks higher, if you can, drop a limit order in here and try to sneak in a tick or maybe 2 ticks, whatever you need to get out here. So as an example, if you enter right there, 66.75, guess where the high is? So you need to get in 1 tick better than that. So you might consider dropping your limit order here or here. And you don't know if you'll get filled if you drop it too far back here, but uh, you can see you could have gotten in this one even all the way back down here. And I think I dropped mine right there at the high, and then I exited right here. I just scalped out of that one in full because I really thought we'd probably turn down after that. But now we've got 2 legs up and we're finding a lot of resistance there again. We'll see what happens. But that was it for the day for me. And this was it was a little slow at first. There were a couple of nice trades early, and then it got a little slow. You might have, if you saw this little channel, you might have thought about going long here, similar to the way you did it over here, but you notice this one didn't come back very far, so you didn't have much of a chance to get long there. And it was just really risky because that's the first break of the trend line. I'm surprised we didn't go on down and test the low there, but they trap people sometimes. And this was really just 1 leg up, then a pullback, then a second leg up. And that's the way it'll do sometimes. And you don't know what it's going to do for sure, so you can't, you don't want to be taking too much of a chance. But no reason to be short in here, really. Even though it's a nice bearish bar, because that's the first break of the trend line. What I thought it would do would come back up here and test this again and then turn down. But they worked it on higher. They ran some more stops. They got it above that and caught a bunch of stops before they finally found resistance. And then prices start working down for the retest. And we test that low. We couldn't get a new low here. That's a sign. And it's really dangerous going long without that trap, because you don't know that they're not going to trap you here and then take it on down. So I don't really like any of, the first time you really got a chance to go long was right here, because then you kind of confirmed your trend line, and not only did it confirm the trend line, it was a perfect retest of the previous support across there, and you can see that. We came back, tested it to the tick, and then bounced and took out of there, and then off we go. Now, you don't know that it's going to do all this. You got to figure it's coming back to test this and probably the next one or the next one. But we're working higher. We're a double bottom here, working higher. This is kind of a reversal pattern because we broke the trend line and made some new highs, then come back down, and we're finding real strong support across here. And then they really did make a little trap, I guess. Now that I re-look at it, if you look right there, there's definitely a trap there, and that's probably good enough to consider going long right there. But I didn't see that. I missed that before because I had my lines down. I think I had them. Well, I should have had it right there. I think I had mine right there, and that was just a perfect bounce. I was afraid it would go lower. But looking back on that now, you can kind of see that it had moved up, and I probably should have moved it up a little bit. I still don't know if I'd have taken that long. I probably would have waited on the second entry, and we just didn't get it. Second entry didn't come to way up here, and you don't want to go long right there. But when it pulls back to the trend line again and then bounces perfect twice off that line, you can't ignore that one. And you can see we've got a new high up here, and now we're pulling back and testing this former resistance. We'll see if it acts as support, or if we sell on off, or just get a correction up here. And that was really it for today, through about 1 o'clock. And I normally would have been done by now, but that was just a pretty nice setup. You knew you're probably going back to retest the high. But this was just one of those moves. And we did the same thing yesterday. You can see that. We went into this trading range. We found support, and then boom. So somebody's been buying this thing up. And you got to figure when you get a new high like we got a few days ago, right here, that you're going to come back and retest that. You always come back and retest major highs and lows. You don't know how long it'll take, but generally it's pretty quick. And there was a double top right here back about 3 or 4 days ago, and now we've retested it. Will it prices get through it, or will we sell off again from here? We'll just have to wait and see. So, um, pay attention to the range, and somebody says, oh, I thought it was a range day, and somebody else says, I thought it was a trend day. Range days turn into trend days, and trend days turn into range days. So you got to go with what you're seeing and draw these short-term trend lines, because I promise you, that would have kept you out of any shorts here, and this would have kept you out of any longs, and this would have kept you out of any shorts, and this would have kept you out of any longs right here. And this stuff works. Uh, you're moving down, and you get a break, and then you get the retest, and you're moving up, you get the break, you get the retest. You're moving down, you get the break, you get the retest. You're moving up, you get the break, you get the retest. Every one of them worked perfectly. If you just found, you got to find these little short-term trends and trend lines and draw them, especially on range days, because that keeps you on the right side of the market, or at least has a whole lot better chance. Every now and then you don't, like right here, I wasn't sure when we broke out right here and then pulled back if that wasn't good enough to be a retest, because sometimes on range days that's what will happen. So I wasn't sure if we weren't going to go higher, but when we got that break right there and then a new high, and we started, and you can see that people recognized it. People were recognizing that, and we just kept selling off until we finally broke below that little double bottom or triple bottom there, and then reversed, and we've been trading up ever since until we got a trend line break right here, and now we'll see if we're going to sell on off or not. So, or at the very least go into a extended correction maybe. So we just have to see what happens. But recognize the type of day that you're seeing and act accordingly, and it will definitely help your trading. And draw these short-term trend lines. And I'm trying to remember, somebody else had asked me, I'm just trying to remember the questions I got today, but hopefully you see why you wouldn't be going long right in here, and you wouldn't be going short right in here. You got to wait, you got to wait on the rules to take place. And this was the first time you might have considered shorting, but that's not really good enough. You need to, when you're working in the other direction, you need a good reversal bar. And that was the first one, but again, then there's too much overlap, so better to wait here. And what I did on this one, I don't know if I talked about this earlier, but I'll talk about this real quick. Because this bar is so big, I dropped, and because this was your former support, I dropped a limit order right there, and it went right back to that line and filled it and then went down. And I know not everybody is good enough for reading the price action to do that. So, but if your bar is so big like this and you can't get in below it and keep a 2-point stop by putting your stop above it, that's what you got to do, or skip the trade. So keep that in mind. And, you don't always know if it'll come back, and sometimes, you'll miss a trade and it'll go a lot further than you expect it to. But that's the way you got to enter these trades. So, you know, you don't want your stop should never be more than 2 points, and you don't really want to give a 2-point stop if you don't have to. So you want to sneak in, like if you got in here, your stop shouldn't be anything more than a couple of ticks above that double top right there. You don't want to go 2 points on that, because if it breaks lower and goes higher right there, that's a trap and not a good sign, and it may come back up and test this high. So, keep that in mind on your stops. 2 points is where we start when we use, when you enter the trade, but you don't want to give most of these trades 2 points unless that's the best you can do and still stay in the trade. So I hope that makes sense, and I'm not confusing people with that. But notice all that congestion, and we broke out of it, and notice we didn't go anywhere. We'll snap back, and we may get a little trap and then go lower or whatever. But that, you got to be real careful entering in that stuff. You want a really good signal bar up here. Um, And notice we're above the previous resistance now, so that really makes it scary. Where here we couldn't get above the resistance. Notice all the closes are inside there, and all the stems are on the top. So a little bit different right there. And right here, notice we got above it, and now you got your support below you. So that was another reason why that one was a little bit more risky entering. Then you break below it and come back and then turn back down, and you even tested it right there and turned back down. So, but by that time you're working off the lows of a possible little channel, and so you got to be real careful there. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.